Thank you for staying through. Welcome to Problem People's Parliament. Tonight, thank you for staying through and welcome to People's Parliament. Tonight, we'll be taking a very, very critical look on some of the happenings across the Federation, as well as the international scene that borders on the welfare of the civil society, particularly with more emphasis on the Nigerian situation. I remain your host on People's Parliament, Mr. Akok Christian, the chair, otherwise known as due process. It's a pleasure to have you join us via YouTube, via Zoom, to be part of this very, very auspicious program tonight, where we are going to be dissecting socio-political issues bordering on the Nigerian situation. You recall that President Bola Tinubu has fine-tuned and finalized arrangement ahead of January for his imminent tax regime that he has so decided to implement against all odds, despite the massive outcry challenging the legality and the justification for this unbearable tax regime. He has so far insisted on going on with it, and we look forward to the reaction of the Nigerian people come January, where the tax regime will gain a full implementation. Number two, we're going to be looking at, so I'll be delivering a commentary on this tax regime so that our audience will have a better understanding of the implication of this tax on the Nigerian people. Then we'll be taking a very critical look, of course, with a very expansive commentary on the anti-Semitism that is engulfing the global planet. Every human being deserves the right to live and be happy, especially where a particular group of persons are being targeted across the globe is a crime against humanity, and all human beings, irrespective of your tribe, your religion, your tongue, your color, your race, your region, is a call for all humans to condemn any form of attack that is targeted against peaceful civilians just because of where they came from, which is not going to be tolerated by any standard. So we'll be looking also at the escalating kidnappings on Nigerian roads. You understand we are now in the Yuletide season. Nigerians, even those in abroad, are traveling back home to be able to share this wonderful experience of Christmas with friends and family that they have so missed for such a long time. And Nigerians that are living in other parts of the countries are also finding their way down to east, down to the Middle Beltline region, to share love with friends and family that they have left to such a distant moment of time. And we'll be looking at Akpabio. There's a breaking news. Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Senate president, was reportedly said to have collapsed, of course, for probably the third or even beyond. He is reported to have collapsed in Nigeria, and he was rushed overseas for medical attention. and over 200 Papiri school kids are still abandoned in the hand of kidnappers. And we are calling on the immediate release of these school kids back to their parents and a holistic uh, attack on these perpetrators, on these terrorists who have chosen to continue to hunt innocent children, women, peaceful civilians as a shield, human shield for their dastard act of terrorism. It's not allowed, it's condemned by all that we represent here on People's Parliaments. And 600 women and children are still stranded at IDP camp in Benue State. You understand, the U.S. Congressional Fact-Finding Mission were in Nigeria 2 weeks ago, where they conducted their on-the-ground assessments. And the conclusion, as part of the report they give, that will be jointly submitted or presented to President Donald Trump latest before the end of December 31st, was that there are over 600 women and children that are stranded in IDP camp in Benue State. Yes, they did not just start in America to provide this report, they came all the way to Nigeria. They first arrived at Abuja, where they proceeded to Benue State Government House, and also proceeded to the various IDP camps where they saw firsthand reality of what is on ground. That particular U.S. congressional mission was ably led by Rep. Really Moore, who also part of the team that visited Nigeria to put this fact-finding details together. And a very scary one is coming out all the way from the defense hub of Nigeria. It's appalling to know that Matawale has repeatedly come under accusation of funding terrorism in Nigeria. Wow. How can one believe that this Minister of Defense of the states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Matawale, will be involved in providing logistics to terrorists? Yes. This allegation came from he's so very PA while he was governor of Zamfara State. And the man came out to provide all the necessary details. The video has been on circulation on various social media platforms, where he also confided that there are more for him to say when he's provided the opportunity to do so at the law courts. Wow. So how long? How do you expect a country that have a Minister of State for Defense to be entangled in sponsoring terrorism, providing logistics, providing vehicles, and all other logistic supports to terrorists in Zamfara State? How does such a character now sit on the round table where security decisions are being made? Nigeria has gotten it so wrong for such a long time, and we cannot afford to continue in this very unholy direction and expect a different results. It is very bad, it is condemnable, and all 1 million Nigerians are expected to raise their voice on this complicity or funding of terrorism in Nigeria, because we cannot afford to continue to do the same thing while expecting a different result. Nigeria deserves a very peaceful atmosphere where our school kids can go out with the expectation that they will return peacefully without any hurt. But today, we have a country where our school kids can no more go to school for fear of being kidnapped. As a matter of fact, schools in the Middle Delta region, as well as northern region, have been shut down for fear of kidnapping. This is not a country that was handed over to APC Muhammad Buhari, president in 2015. We understand there were skirmishes of terror attacks, particularly they were restricted to the northeast. But what we have today is an entire national insecurity, where nowhere has been declared to be safe. As a matter of fact, one could get kidnapped even in a city room. Yet, we have a ruling party gallivanting around, disturbing the peace of the neighborhood, under the guise that they are in charge. You saw the latest attack from, reaction from Wale Soyinka, who has come out of his country to also lament that the security detail that were attached to Tinubu alone, that have no official portfolio, is enough to be able to restore peace and order in the Republic. Well, at the point when we were complaining, he called the Obedient movement all sort of name, calling the Obedient movement headless moves. But today, he's beginning to be on the complaining side. Some have alleged that it's probably because his name was not included in the ambassadorial list or ministerial lists. Yes, there could be an atom of truth in this matter. So tonight, I'll be taking us around circle of commentary. And if you are joining us via Zoom, please sit back, relax, as I take you through the commentary that has been prepared by Codem People's Codem Media TV. We will be making this presentation on the realistic situation of the Bola Tinubu tax regime, as well as the dastard act of terror attack that took place at Australia, where Jewish were targeted during their Hakuna festival. We stand condemned, and we particularly are going to be having a statement in this regard. But first and foremost, let me start with Tinubu's tax regime. Tinubu's Nigeria, a government that taxes poverty, protects corruption, and punishes survival. That is what Tinubu tax regime represents. It's a government that taxes poverty, protects corruption, and punishes survival. That is the topic for this Tinubu's tax regime presentation or commentary, as you may put it. So, the Tinubu's administration has reduced governance in Nigeria to a brutal exercise in economic violence, cloaked in a deceptive language of reforms. This government has entrenched corruption at the top, while unleashing an unprecedented assault on the poorest and least productive segments of the Nigerian population. What is unfolding is not reform. It is organized state cruelty. It takes a helpless leader to continue to tax an unproductive population and expect the crime rates to go down. Let me continue. Under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, corruption has not been dismantled. It has been repackaged and shielded. The political elites continue to live in obscene excess while demanding sacrifice from the population. What this means is that leadership is supposed to be by example. You don't continue to ask the masses to endure while you are living in obscene waste of public funds. While demanding sacrifices from the population that has nothing left to give, government officials struggle in luxury, in convoy, needless convoy. Almost 1,000 convoy. For what? Allocated, bloated budgets to themselves. Yes. And operate a system riddled with secrecy and impunity, all while preaching austerity to citizens battling hunger, unemployment, and insecurity. The Nigerian populace are battling hunger, unemployment, and insecurity. Yet, the government is giving them overbearing tax burden and telling the masses to be patient. Well, let's continue. The so-called 2026 tax regime is the clearest evidence of this administration's moral bankruptcy. Instead of fixing the economy, expanding productivity, industrializing the nation, or creating jobs, the government has chosen to tax failure. It seeks to extract revenue from an unproductive population, not because Nigerians are thriving, but because the state has failed catastrophically in its most basic responsibility. The primary responsibility of any state government is to provide security of lives and property, provide welfare for the people, provide enabling environments that will make businesses to thrive. But what has Bola Ahmed Tinubu done? Nothing other than to tax the unproductive population of Nigeria. This is economic absurdity bordering on weakness. You do not tax people into productivity. You invest them into it. You remember, Mr. Peter Obi has consistently said this, that you don't tax an unproductive population, right? You don't tax people into poverty. You don't tax unemployed Nigerians and expect them overnight to become rich. Rather, tax should be a function of production. So when you tax a productive population, there will be no economic burden on the masses. That is what that means. A government that cannot provide electricity, you do not tax hunger, joblessness, and despair. You eradicate them. A government that cannot provide electricity, security, health care, education, or unemployment, or that cannot provide employment, has no moral or economic right to aggressively tax its citizens. What Tinubu's administration calls tax reform is nothing more than legalized extortion. Yes, Nigerian masses are being squeezed. Remember, there's this picture of Bola Ahmed Tinubu where he was squeezing a clothes a cartoon. That is the situation of the Nigerian people currently. Even more insulting is the government's refusal to cut the outrageous cost of governance. Ministries remain bloated. Political appointments are excessive. Duplicated agencies drain public funds. Lawmakers enjoy privileges that insult the suffering of ordinary Nigerians. Yet, the burden is shifted downward to market women, artisans, small traders, and unemployed youths. This is class welfare waged by the state against its own people. The Tinubu government governs as though Nigerians exist only as revenue sources, not as citizens with rights and dignity. This mindset is dangerous. It breeds resentment, fuels social unrest, and accelerates mass migration as citizens flee a country that punishes survival and rewards corruption. This justifies the reason why we have a lot of situation of jackpot. Nigerians are beginning to fly out of Nigerians, leaving the country because the country has been made worse. The suffering masses have been overtaxed and suppressed to undue economic situation. Insecurity is thriving, lack of electricity, lack of employment. What is the Nigerian government trying to tax? Let me continue. Tinubu government governs as though Nigeria exists. It breeds resentment, fuels unrest, and accelerates mass migration as citizens flee a country that punishes survival and rewards corruption. Let me continue. What makes this administration especially dangerous is its insistence on discipline for the poor and impunity for the powerful. Anti-corruption has become selective and weaponized while systematic looting continues, uninterrupted. Trust has collapsed, and no tax system can survive without trust. You cannot demand compliance from a population that sees government as predatory. You don't expect compliance, rather you expect resistance. So going into January, we are hereby anticipating a year of civil unrest, a year of protests and mass mobilization, a year of social disenchantment, a year of citizens' disobedience, social disobedience, civil disobedience, and a lot of social unrest are anticipated ahead of 2026 because the suffering Nigerians will not get better because the tax will come in full force come 2026 January. It is on this note that Condem Media TV has chosen to present this very brief commentary on Tinubu tax regime. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how far that we can take for tonight in terms of the commentary regarding Tinubu economic policy. Before we call short this tonight's program, if you are joining on Zoom and you want to have a conversation on the highlighted topics for discussion tonight, we have been able to present a commentary on Tinubu's tax regime, escalating kidnapping on Nigerian roads as Christmas seasons approaches. Of course, Papiri has been reportedly flown out of the country after collapse Over 200 Papiri school children are still languishing in the forest while Nigerians are moving on. What a heartless country. What a heartless country. Those over 200 school kids that are at most 14 years, 13 years, 12 years, 6 years are all human beings. They could be your children, they could be my children, they could be your sister, they could be your brother. Where is your conscience that you have chosen silence while the country is burning? I make it up to you to use your voice. If you cannot come out to protest and demand justice, you should be able to use your voice to speak out. So, dear Nigerians, well-meaning Nigerians, this is a battle for all. It's not a battle for Peter Obi. It's not a battle for Atiku Abubakar. It's not a battle for anyone in particular. It is a battle, a collective one, for every well-meaning Nigerians. We cannot continue to endure a country that has been turned into a war-torn zone. As I speak to you, over 600 are languishing in IDP camp in Benue State, and the governor is busy denying genocide. That is how shameless Nigerian politicians are when saddled with leadership responsibility. They tend to go blind. They tend to pretend to be sleeping when the house is on fire. So if you are on Zoom, you are at liberty to unmute and have a contribution on the subject matter. Do we have any guests on Zoom to be part of this program? And if you are watching us via YouTube, feel free to drop your comments regarding the People's Parliament. From January, we'll be having a more expansive and more engaging TV programs where we wish Nigerians across boundary, home and abroad, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. We wish to call your attention to take a moment and reflect on the state of the country. The state of the country is in a very bad shape. Worst since independence. Nigeria has never gone this low. Starting from security, economy, job, or taking people out of poverty. This has never been the concentration of the attention of the government. They've been very complicit in attending to the needs of the masses. They've been very complicit in providing security for the masses. We cannot go into 2026 and continue in this direction. And if the Nigerian government has proven over time that they are incapable of providing security of lives and property for the overwhelming majority of Nigerians, there is no harm in seeking for help. We hereby call for President Donald Trump's intervention to please come to the aid of Nigeria and provide succor for the suffering masses. Provide hope for the hopeless, provide support for the oppressed, provide justice for those who have been unjustly treated in Nigeria. Nigeria as a country cannot continue to thrive in insecurity. Insecurity or terrorism or genocide, as it is, cannot become a norm in our fatherland. Tinubu has promised to continue in the line of President Muhammadu Buhari, and he has since continued. This is not a positive achievement. This is a very, very negative antecedent, a very negative record that he has chosen to live for himself. How will you feel when you see a child being named Tinubu in your neighborhood? How will you feel? During Goodluck Jonathan, we had a situation where parents were naming their children after Goodluck. Goodluck Jonathan. There were many Goodluck Jonathan in many families today because of the achievements and the good governance that Jonathan was able to provide. But how many families will today name their kids as Bola Tinubu? How many Nigerian families will do that? As a matter of fact, naming any child Bola Tinubu in Nigeria is automatic bad luck, because the such child, even if he is not directly the one that is perpetrating this evil on Nigerians, will definitely inherit the enemies of Bola Tinubu's administration. So a good name is better than riches. And the good name currently, Bola Tinubu does not have it. There is no two ways about it. They are calling a spade on People's Parliament. This is Scotland Media TV. We say it as it is without missing words. Friends, listeners, viewers, this is where we draw the curtain for tonight's program. Until I come your way tomorrow, thank you for staying true. Thank you for subscribing to Scotland Media TV. And for those who have not done so, please be at liberty to subscribe to Scotland Media TV so that we can have a more robust platform to project the true Nigerian story as it is. I remain your host, Mr. Akon Christian, okay? Otherwise known as due process. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye. Far away, promise be ready for me. Call you wherever found. I may not from you, but I'll be too much.